First up we have Senator Malcolm Roberts, a federal senator and member of Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party, representing Queensland. He has a Bachelor of Engineering with honours from the University of Queensland and a Masters of Business Administration from the University of Chicago. Before he was elected to federal parliament, he was a full-time political activist and spokesman for the Galileo movement, where he led an ultimately victorious fight against the carbon tax. Since his election, he's been an outspoken critic of big government and the high tax burden that we pay that feeds it. In his maiden speech in Parliament, Senator Roberts warned us that government is a beast that only wants to control our lives, where instead its purpose should be to protect life, protect property and protect freedom. To that I say bravo, and please make him feel welcome.
So I was told we'd be talking for about anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, so I'm going to try and make sure I'm around about 5 minutes, put a timer on. First of all, I want to express my thanks for the Friedman conference. I came from the University of Chicago as a student there, an MBA at Milton Friedman School, and I very much appreciate his message. But actually I appreciate being a human more than anything else. I am very, very pro-human. I love everyone in this room because we share that common humanity. What I've been asked to talk about is trends in politics. Now, I'm only a new boy, so I don't know about too many trends. The people who'll be following me know much more. I'd like to discuss trends we're seeing and trends we're creating, and maybe invite you to join in some of those trends. 8 data points are needed to confirm a trend statistically. Now, some of these trends I'm about to mention, I haven't got 8 data points. But Corey Bernardi in Brisbane a few weeks ago said to me, in front of a whole group of people, he said, "That little guy over there has done more damage to the Greens and got them more upset than I have in 10 years. So that's a 1 data point, so I can't say that's a trend. But the Greens are on the way out. The Greens are on the way out, and the reason why I've been effective with the Greens and why the Liberal Party is now starting to call them out, and the National Party, is because I use data. That's it. That's the only reason. Plus, I'm passionately pro-human, and the Greens are anti-human. Another trend, Senator McGrath in Queensland, he said that he has to go out and listen to people now. Because we've been saying that, and we're stealing some of his votes. He also said that he is a servant to the people of Queensland. I wonder if that's because I've started all my speeches that way, because that is our job, to serve the people who pay for our salaries. Anthony Chisholm in Queensland, a senator, and Murray Watt, I believe, have started using words like cost-benefit analysis. Can you believe it? Where did they pick that one up? So they're starting to copy us, and we're new boys and new girls. So their appointments, their tactics show that they're already starting to copy us. But I'm not going to take credit for some big trends. Let's have a look at some of the other trends that are underway already. There is increased consciousness, number one, of government as being a damaging force in our country, and force or control is the currency of the socialist and the dictator. And what we see now is a long history of 7 decades of basically socialism in this country. And I've seen that in the States, where I've lived and worked for 5 years over the last 40 years. Government has become a tool for control. And all I've done is made notes this morning, so I'm not going to go into any detail on these points, but government has become a tool for control. Many of the people in Parliament have no idea they're actually part of that tool. They're ignorant and they're somewhat weak. They're human. There are a few people in both parties, I believe, that are the actual power brokers behind that control. And that's what's wrong in politics today. But the people are waking up because they are disillusioned with politics and with Parliament. The second thing that they're disillusioned with is the falsities of those Parliament. John Howard was the first leader of a major political party to espouse an ETS, an emissions trading scheme. Not Kevin Rudd, John Howard. He was the person who brought in a RET, renewable energy target. Not Labor Party, John Howard. And farmers have had their property rights stolen. Now, there's nothing more sacrosanct than property rights to a Liberal. Isn't that right? Yep. Well, John Howard, to comply with Kyoto, even though he wouldn't sign it, rightly wouldn't sign it, he still said we would comply with Kyoto. And so why he did that was, if he stole the farmers' property rights, because you can either do that by killing industry or stopping clearing of land. So he chose the latter because he knew the stopping of industry would not work with the people of Australia. So he stole the land from the farmers, stole their property rights. And he did that without paying compensation. Now, the federal government has to pay compensation if it takes someone's land. But by doing deals with Bob Carr in New South Wales and Peter Beattie in Queensland and passing native vegetation acts, they were able to steal the farmers' property rights. So John Howard, RET, emissions trading scheme, stealing property rights. Then we have Julia Gillard making a promise, no carbon tax. What can we trust? There are three basic appeals to voters: economic self-interest, values, and identity, who we identify with. And if you look at it now, the Liberal Party and the Labor Party are engaged in a war over economic self-interest. Give me another $10 in my wage, give me another $10 less in tax. They're just bribes using our money. Economic self-interest is all they appeal to. What is more important to most people is the values of this country and the identity of being an Australian. Regardless of skin colour, regardless of background, we value being Australians. But the tired old parties have just become arbitrators over economic self-interest and bribers, conducting auctions with our money. We've got a media now that's distrusted because of fake news. We've got universities that are now teaching people what to think, not how to think. We don't trust universities anymore. One Nation supporters have a very strong moral compass and a very strong work ethic. That's why we pull people from the core of the Labor Party, blue-collar workers, and we pull people from the core of the Liberal Party and the small businesses, because it's a return to basics. People understand that without the morals in this country, without the pride in this country, without the values of this country, the whole country goes under. So ideas matter. And the idea that humans, the Australians, everyday voters, have not got the sense to understand about values and identity is wrong. It shows a very poor appreciation of Australians. So some of the trends that I can see are coming, those trends I see already, but some of the trends I can see are coming is that we will have more and more data-based policy, and we'll have more and more solutions being allowed to emerge. The facts will be presented, they'll be critiqued. Nothing has ever been critiqued about climate change science in the federal parliament. Never. Senator Ian MacDonald, to his credit, gave me credit for being the one to start that last December. 10 years, billions of dollars, no data has ever been debated. Never. But we will see that data because of the mess that's emerging in South Australia and the rest of the country. We will start seeing honesty returning to politics. We've seen Pauline Hanson already, that showing things like Rod Cullerton being up before the High Court, and people saying to her, well, what's your position on this? And Pauline just said, normally a political leader would say, I support my person in politics. What does she say? Let the High Court rule. Let the High Court sort it out. We apologise when we make mistakes. We admit when we don't know things. We compliment people like Darren Hinch for making his own apology on the ABCC. We compliment people like Peter Dutton for enacting Pauline Hanson's policies on immigration, because it's important that we are here for Australia, not to score points off each other. Third thing that's coming, as I've already alluded to, Senator McGrath has said that we need to listen more. The problem is that when we go out and listen, we can do things about it. When the tired old parties go out to listen, they can't, because the power brokers tell them what to do. And do you think the people don't know that? They can sense when you're listening. We know when people are listening. The fourth thing that's going to be coming is that the product sells. We see a revolution in manufacturing products being sold these days. Honda does very little advertising, yet it's the third biggest seller in America, because its product is the best product. The product will sell, and that's what will happen increasingly with the internet. And I think this is the last trend I'm going to mention. We will have more of a positive focus in politics, a very pro-human focus, because I'll be happy to go into this in detail, but humans are amazing creatures. We have had 70 years, certainly 50 years since the Club of Rome running around with the UN, demonising humans. We are starting to realise that humans are marvellous. So what we'll be seeing increasingly is a debate between taxpayers and tax takers, between the voiceless and the elites who control politics or controlled, between the positive and the negative. And everyone here, I can guarantee, is a very, very positive person. Just by being here, you know that the faith, you know what I'm getting at, the faith that people have in each other in the libertarian movement is strong because you sense it yourself. That's why you're willing to have freedom. You understand that's how we prosper. And the last one is, it'll no longer be between left and right, it'll be between freedom and control. And here's a challenge to everyone in this room. Sometimes when I scratch a libertarian, I find a control freak underneath. That's the same with anyone. Sometimes I scratch a parent and there's a control freak underneath. We all must have the patience to allow solutions to emerge. And that's why free markets really work, because billions of solutions come out of billions of people. Thank you very much.